Okay. Pick things up where we left off. The obverse for this sentence, becomes no commodity traders are non-gamblers who risk sudden disaster. This can be a little tricky, right? So we have to transform the quality of the A proposition, the universal affirmative. So we need negation. But we have to hold on to the quantity. So we still need the universal. So the A becomes an E proposition, but we have to add the complement non. Right. So gamblers who risk sudden disaster becomes non-gamblers who risk sudden disaster. And we know already that every aversion on the modern interpretation is valid. So as long as we do those two moves right, we know that this is valid inference. So that's the good thing about aversion. Now try to find the contrapositive for all commodity traders are gamblers who risk sudden disaster. The contrapositive is this. All non-gamblers who risk sudden disaster are non-commodity traders, right? This gets very clunky, but if you just follow the steps, really you should arrive at this, right? So remember, the steps for contraposition are similar to conversion in that we need to switch S and P, the subject and predicate. So we have done that here, right? We have our subject group with commodity traders and our predicate group with gamblers who risk sudden disaster. And then we need to add the complement term non to both the predicate class and the subject class, non-commodity traders. And this is a valid inference. The modern interpretation allows us to validly contrapose a proposition. So these are said to be logically equivalent. Okay. So let's practice another one. Number 2, some organ transplants are not sensible operations. Some organ transplants are not sensible operations. Find the converse, the obverse, and the contrapositive for this categorical proposition. Okay, the converse should look like this. Some sensible operations are not organ transplants. So if we kind of pick this apart here, the first question, again, you should ask yourself, what category is this? This is no proposition, right? This is a particular negative. We have some designating particularity, and we have negation, are not. So the subject group is excluded from the predicate group. We then, for conversion, have to substitute S and P. For S, organ transplants is our subject, and for our predicate group, I see sensible operations. So we're going to switch S and P, but we have to hold on to the sense of our copula, are not. We have to hold on to negation. So the result is some sensible operations are not organ transplants. And if you look back on our Venn diagrams, you'll see that conversion for any O proposition is invalid. This is not a move we're permitted to make, as it were. So notice we're allowed to write it down and see what the converse would look like, but at the level of inference, this is not something we can immediately infer based on a single sentence, even though we can determine what the relationship of subject to predicate would be. Okay, so try to find the obverse. Some organ transplants are not sensible operations. And here we are. The obverse is some organ transplants are non-sensible operations. All right, so remember the two moves we have to make for obversion. We have to change the quality. So the negation of are not becomes affirmative with are. And then we have to add our complement to the predicate. Non goes before sensible operations. So be careful here. It can be very slippery, as it were, to deal with including a complement term when we are changing a negation to affirmation, right? We need to get rid of that not and include non. But this is a valid inference. Obversion is valid for all four categories of propositions. So technically speaking, we're kind of saying the same thing here, just by different means. But it is an incorrect obversion if you still have not written here, right? That is a very different sentence than are nonsensible operations. So be careful to make sure you make the transformation of both quality and the addition of the complement term. Now find the contrapositive for this sentence. Remember, there are really two steps, and try to determine if it's a valid or invalid inference. Contrapositive looks like this. Some non-sensible operations are not non-organ transplants. That is a mouthful. Notice the two moves. We have to switch subject and predicate. Organ transplants, it's flipped with sensible operations. And then we add our complement terms to both the predicate and the subject class. Notice that with contrapositives, we're going to have to hold on to the exact same quality as we got with the initiating proposition. So our not is still there. We can't drop that not. If we were to drop that not, then the whole sentence, the whole meaning is not really the same. It's not a contrapositive. So we need both the not and the non for this to be a true contrapositive. So really be careful with that. That is not a place where our brain, linguistically speaking, wants to go. We don't like all those negatives in there, but that is the logical sense of it. And this is a valid immediate inference. We are allowed to contrapose all particular negative propositions validly. All right, so this one works. Okay, let's move on. Let's do another one. Number 3, some artistic people are eccentric people. Again, find the converse, determine validity or invalidity. Find the obverse, determine validity or invalidity, and find the contrapositive and determine the validity or invalidity of the inference. So the converse should look something like this. Some eccentric people are artistic people. Remember, the first thing you should do is determine the category proposition. And this looks like an I proposition to me. This is a particular affirmative. We have some designating the particular, and then we have an affirmative copula. So we have an I here. So all we have to do is converse flip subject and predicate. I see my subject here as artistic people, and I see eccentric people in the predicate class. And once we've done that, we just simply think about whether or not we can validly convert I propositions on the modern interpretation. You can indeed validly convert particular affirmatives. So this move that we are allowed to make. Some artistic people are eccentric people. If that's true, it is also true that some eccentric people are artistic people. So that is a valid immediate inference. Now try to find the obverse for the sentence. That verse looks like this, right? Some artistic people are not non-eccentric people. Again, this gets tricky. What do we have to do to find the obverse? We have to change quality. So are becomes are not, becomes negation. And then we have to add the complement to the predicate. So we need both that not and that not. And again, we might have a lot of resistance to adding both of those terms because we just don't like so many negations, but this is the correct transformation. And again, recall that obversion is valid for all categories of proposition. So to say that the obverse of some artistic people are eccentric people is some artistic people are not non-eccentric people are logically equivalent sentences. If it's true for one, it's true for the obverse. Now, try to find the contrapositive for this I proposition. The contrapositive looks like this. Some non-eccentric people are non-artistic people. So notice we've done two things. We've switched subject and predicate, and then we've added the complement to both terms. And the result is this sort of clunky sentence. Unfortunately, I propositions cannot be validly contraposed on the modern interpretation. So this is not a valid immediate inference. We can write it out and we can see the relations of the subject to the predicate in terms of their transformed complement form, but this is not a valid inference at the level of argument. Okay? Try to find the transformations for number 4. No individuals who laugh all the time are persons with a real sense of humor. Try to find the converse, the obverse, contrapositive. Okay. So, to do this one, I think we have to sort of break this up a little bit because it's a bit wordy. First, try to figure out what category of proposition this is. To me, this is a universal negative. We have negation and universality. So this is our E proposition, right? Now try to find the subject class. And even though we have a bunch of words strung together in the form of individuals who laugh all the time, I think this is our subject class. Individuals who laugh all the time is the subject of the sentence. And then we have our copula, are, so it's affirmative. And then we have our predicate over here, persons with a real sense of humor. This is our P group. So now, recall how we find the converse. We have to switch subject and predicate, right? So the converse is this. No persons with a real sense of humor are individuals who laugh all the time. We've switched S and P. That's the only move we have to make to find the converse. And recall that for E propositions, you are validly allowed to convert the proposition. So this is actually a valid immediate inference. And that does show on the Venn diagrams on the modern interpretation. Okay? So now try to find the obverse. How do we do that? There are two moves, if you recall. The result is this. All individuals who laugh all the time are non-persons with a real sense of humor. This is a little tricky. So to find the transformation of the quality, affirmative has to become, negation has to become affirmation. So the E proposition has to become an A proposition. And then we have to add the complement to the predicate class. So persons with a real sense of humor becomes non-persons with a real sense of humor. So 2 stages to find the obverse, and luckily enough, all obversion is valid for the 4 categories. So this is a valid immediate inference, and it is revealed to be on the Venn diagram. I think the tricky thing there is getting our transformed quality right, moving from the E proposition to the A proposition. What about the contrapositive? How would you find the contrapositive? 2 moves, really. Looks like this. No non-persons with a real sense of humor are non-individuals who laugh all the time. So we got to switch S and P, and then we add the complement to both S and P. So we have non-persons with a real sense of humor are non-individuals who laugh all the time. Notice we're not changing the quality, so we still have are as our copula. We've just flipped S and added complements. Unfortunately, the E proposition is not validly contraposed on the modern interpretation. So these are not logically equivalent sentences. Okay? So make sure you understand the moves we've made here with this example. Now let's do one more example before moving on. Some suits are not well-tailored clothes. Find the converse, the obverse, and the contrapositive. All right, so again, to do this, I think we got to find the category of proposition. This looks like an O proposition to me. We have particularity, and then we have negation, or not. I see my S-class here with suits, and then I see my predicate group over here with well-tailored close. So first try to find the converse. Remember, it's just one move, and then determine validity. Converse looks like this, right? Some well-tailored suits, some well-tailored close are not suits. And this is invalid. Unfortunately, O propositions can never validly be converted on the modern interpretation. The move itself is easy enough to generate. We just switch S and P, but we do have to be wary of the fact that O propositions cannot be validly converted. What about the obverse? Try to find the obverse. The obverse looks like this. Some suits are non-well-tailored close. Notice what we have to do. We have to change quality. So are not, the negative becomes are, our copula becomes affirmative, and then we add our complement non to well-tailored close to the predicate group. Remember, we have to get rid of our not for negation to become affirmative. So it can't work if we say some suits are not non-well-tailored close, because that holds on to the same quality of negation. The obverse, fortunately, is valid. We're allowed to validly avert any categorical proposition, including the O proposition, on the modern interpretation. Last but not least, find the contrapositive for some suits are not well-tailored close. The contrapositive looks like this. Some non-well-tailored close are not non-suits. That is also a mouthful. Way too many negatives for our liking, I'm sure, but this is right. We have to switch S and P. We've done that. We've got our predicate group over here, well-tailored close, and then we have our subject group over here, suits, and we have held on to the quality. We are not changing the quality for contraposition. We have are not, negation. However, we have added complements to both the predicate as well as the subject. Non and non. This is right. Remember, we need the are not. If we lose the not and just say are non-suits, that is wrong. That is not an actual contraposition of the initiating sentence. Fortunately, this is valid. O propositions are validly contraposed on the modern interpretation. Okay, so I'm going to make available to you another set of practice questions. I strongly recommend that you work your way through them and just like these, find the converse, the obverse, and the contrapositive, and do make sure you understand how to generate these inferences on the modern interpretation before moving on. Thank you, everyone. I will see you next time.